last time 9.6.
Car was very difficult to drive, I don't know. I had very poor braking stability and very difficult with the rear. It was nowhere near the same car as we had 2 days ago.
Some drivers, Sebastian for instance, contrary to popular belief, to get the car rotated early on, he liked the rear to be really stable, so he is not tolerant of turning oversteer. Whereas Mark Webber, actually, you might think is the car that the driver that would want a slightly more stable car, was the opposite. He was more comfortable to have the car moving a bit on entry, because he didn't concentrate quite as hard as Sebastian did on getting the car rotated very early on, which was Sebastian's big thing. So all those slightly different styles mean that you do see differences in driver performance if the car's handling slightly differently amongst teammates.
I've got a question here from David, actually, talking about exactly this. Was there anything from the data or Seb's feedback that could explain why Mark was often better than Seb in the high-speed stuff? I've read that Mark was ace in fast corners, but I don't understand how he often beat Seb at Monaco as well. Was it commitment a matter of feel, or simply as there being less or no corners to a V?
I think Mark was, generally speaking, quicker in the fast corners. I think he obviously had a very good eye for the fast corners. Mark's weakness, if anything, was tyre management, and that particularly hurt him when we got onto the Pirelli tyres that were more fragile than the Bridgestones before. But Sebastian had a very good technique for rotating the car in the sort of open, the sort of classic open corners that you get in a medium speed corner, Monaco is a different problem. It's quite a unique circuit for many reasons, but one of them is that I think the proximity of the barriers and the nature of the corners means it's not actually about getting the car rotated very early. So that seemed to help Mark's technique kind of and put, I would say, around Monaco, Sebastian and Mark, there wasn't too much.
Mark Webber made the comment actually in Singapore after qualifying that the one area where Seb does seem to have him is slow corners, the boring slow corners. And you did a very articulate analysis of how that can be in a couple of episodes. But we now have, thanks to a very talented LAT photographer, Alistair Staley, 2 pictures that were taken either on the same lap or within a lap during the race in India. And I came across them last week. They're going into a relatively slow right-hander, followed by a left-hander. There's about the same amount of load on the car. Maybe Mark Webber's got more load on the car. But look at the difference in the helmet position. Mark Webber, classic racing driver pose, leaning slightly forward, leaning slightly to the right, in the right-hander.
With the dark helmet.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's all clear.
Yeah, with the red, yellow, and blue.
Yeah.
But Sebastian Vettel, in the same place, virtually within a metre or so, already looking what I would describe as at the corner ahead. And maybe he's just looking at the apex of the left-hander coming up. But what a difference between the 2 helmet positions in virtually the same time. And it is the same place, and it is during the race. So it's not as if Vettel is going slowly there or slower than Mark. That is within a lap or 2 of the Indian Grand Prix. So Rob, that kind of sums up what you've been talking about, right?
It is, because if you look at Mark, it does have more load in the car now. That we see a wheel in the air there, that could have been from the curb. But whereas Sebastian is looking to the exit of the corner, it's not just that, he's looking to the exit of his own corner. Mark's corner is going on a little bit longer. He's got a little more push in the car there, and so Sebastian's corner has ended sooner. It's not a geometric place of an apex. It's just he has manipulated a direction change slightly earlier so that he can get a little bit of steering weight out of that car for what's coming next, whereas Mark is still going around the corner.
Oh, and what is making him move his head to the left sooner than Mark then?
Well, he's got less weight on his shoulder, and he's just further around the corner. That part is already behind him because the car has rotated a fraction better. Now it's being able to rotate it is that tiny little bit of a steering at the very beginning, the rate you've decreased the brake pedal pressure, the amount you will allow the car to rotate with that so that you can get your direction change. And it's not really faster at the middle of the corner for that. It's not even for the corner, it's for what's coming next, so that you get that tiny bit of steering out of the car, and the car is slightly flatter for the next 2 or 3 car lengths of what's coming next.
What's happened? Well, what's happened in 2014 that's changed?
Well, I think first of all we didn't have the smoothest season so far. We had a lot of issues, but other than that, I think I'm not yet where I want to be in terms of manipulating the car the way I want to. In terms of when we talk, especially around the track like here, in terms of confidence and being able to just make it stick and believing it's there. So it's a good, let's say, mix of that. So obviously the cars have changed a lot. You had to adapt, which I think for a racing driver is not unusual, but just it seems that we're not yet able to extract that extra bit of performance that we've been able to extract the years before.
But you have to adapt to over the years, wet to dry, full tanks to empty tanks.
So that I think that's nothing new. So I had enough time by now with the new generation of cars, and I'm not blaming it on that. So there's still obviously some bits that I think we can do better. On the other hand, I think the season has been so far quite compromised in terms of, if you look at the raw results and the pace we had, it's not always that fair, but that's how it is sometimes.
What are you missing most from last year's car when you're attacking a 90-degree corner like that? What would you like now that you had then?
Grip would be the stupid answer to give, and the simple one, but I think it's just the confidence, especially in the first part of the corner, to be able to rotate and position the car. As good as probably we were able to in the last couple of years. So that basically you have the confidence, and you, as I said, you make it stick, knowing it's be there. Obviously, every time I try this year, you do what you think is right and you do what you think is quickest, just like all the other years. But it's not coming as natural maybe as the years before.
So what I understand you saying there is one of the advantages you had was the incredible speed you could take to the apex, and this car won't live with that.
Not as good as the last couple of years, let's put it this way.